So as we look at Griffin versus State, we're just looking at a question of how new technology can create problems for authentication. And so you may not remember Griffin versus, or you may not remember the technology in Griffin versus State that well. I was in graduate school when Friendster and then MySpace, which is an issue here, came out, and then both of those were kind of the precursors to Facebook. And so in this case, we're trying to get in something that was posted as part of a profile of a defendant, something like snitches get stitches, on her Facebook wall. And the question is, can you just print out something from her Facebook profile and authenticate it by showing that this is a picture of her as part of this profile? You know, I opened the profile. This is a printout of everything that I found. And here's a picture of her. And the profile indicates not only that picture, which, you know, someone would have to have access to her photograph, which is, you know, not terribly difficult in the internet age, where, you know, you could probably find pictures of any member of this class by doing a quick Google search. But also, you know, it's not that hard to like snap a picture of people these days. And obviously, like I say, you can just like, you know, once you find the picture on the internet, you can just copy it and paste it. So this whole thing could be a manufactured website. And it's also possible that the website itself was hacked. So we don't know for sure that that the website was created by the defendant, and we don't know that the posting on it was made by the defendant. And so you know, this is not terribly dissimilar from other things we've seen where we could actually be wrong about this. We've looked at this in the context of text messages very early on when we're looking at hearsay issues. Could you establish that the text messages came from a particular person? We didn't look at this in authentication, but we talked about the authentication issue. And when a person is in communication with someone else, there are kind of telltale signs in a communication that you have a sense of whether you are being spoken to or you're having a conversation with someone you know, or whether this is something that's been hacked. So as the court in this case noted, there was that Pennsylvania case in the interest of FP, where we had instant messages, and the question was whether that was sufficient. The screen name from the instant messages, was that sufficient to bring in the instant messages? And the court said yes. This kind of seemed to be a derivative of telephone conversations where you recognize the person's voice, you call the person and you recognize their voice. So here you're expecting a call with a person of the screen name, or expecting a message with someone of the screen name. You exchange emails and such. A little bit more than just this thing went out somewhere on the web with your name on it, or under something purporting to be your profile. So this is going to be a moving target because, you know, not just the technology has changed. We're relatively stable in terms of what Facebook is, but the whole notion of hacking has become, you know, quite the popular thing. You know, at the time I'm making this video, we don't know who's going to win the presidential election, but we do know that as part of the presidential election, there was an issue of hacked emails, and you know that was 2016. But then, like the use of Facebook to do all kinds of nefarious things, we know that that's now an issue. And so, you know, courts may apply more scrutiny to authentication of things that appear on social media, things like Twitter or Facebook. So what did the Griffin case require? The Griffin case said, obviously, there are all kinds of ways you can do this. Merely printing out what you found is not enough, because anybody could have put that up there. You need to take at least a little bit extra step, or of an extra step. You need to show, for instance, that through forensic computer evidence, that, you know, perhaps from the user's computer, you can show that these were things that the user actually put in that was typed from the user's computer. You could also show through the website of the social media site that these entries came from the user's computer. Of course, you could get the user to identify, did you write this? Not likely to happen, but that's also a possibility. You need to take just one extra step, or as the FPK said, if it's a communication between two people using a social media site, then that's a little bit better. So just the fact that something's out there with your name on it on the internet is not sufficient under the Griffin case. But anytime you're looking at something with social media or emerging technologies, you're going to want to check and make sure that that the court in your jurisdiction or in others hasn't come up with some new case that addresses the unique concerns of evolving technology and evolving hacking ability by nefarious groups of whatever type.